Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that when you bring it up, people love to argue. Even other coaches love to argue, but the problem with their arguments is that, this has been studied pretty heavily, and there's so much research on this stuff that, again, you sound silly when you argue about this, and that is the simple fact that the biggest predictor of bench press strength is upper body muscle mass, okay, through your whole upper body. That's the biggest predictor. And the reason for that is we know that more hypertrophy equals more potential for force production. And the funny thing is, like, there have been a few studies that have looked at this stuff in both competitive powerlifters as well as really serious benchers, people who are placing well at world level events. When they go and study them in the lab, here's what we find over and over and over, that especially when they looked at elite benchers and they studied bar paths and form, it turned out that DEXA scans that looked at their muscle mass in their upper body was the biggest predictor of strength. Okay, it mattered way more than technique, mattered more than form, mattered more than neural drive, all this stuff that we look at. So at the end of the day, yes, we should work on technique, obviously. Yes, technique matters. Yes, form matters. But muscle mass seemed to be the most important thing. And it's even though the bench press is the most technical of the power lifts, in theory, that technique is only worth a few percentages, right? It's only worth a few percentages. And it's like when James Strickland had said, hey, when he was first learning to bench in powerlifting, he was like, I didn't even know how to bench correctly, and I hit a 450. He had a 450-pound bench, and I think he said he did it in a meet before he really understood how to have bench technique. Now, technique, and as he got bigger and stronger, added to his bench, but think about that for a moment. 450 while realizing he had no technique and just brute strength his way through it, because he was a big, tall guy with a big frame and has a lot of muscle. Okay? And if you guys want further proof, go look even at bodybuilders. How many bodybuilders with massive upper bodies, like pro bodybuilders, and they do put them on the bench, are like, oh, I don't really bench heavy, but then when they do it, you see them put up massive numbers. Like you'll see Kai Green say, oh, I'm not a weightlifter, I'm a bodybuilder, I don't care about what I lift. Till you put him on an incline bench and notice a guy can rep 405 on an incline because he's just thick. So what I'm suggesting is, and you've had people, I've had other coaches say, who watch my stuff regularly, well, you can't just tricep extension your way to a bigger bench. And it's like, really? It's kind of been working. And I'm not saying it's only tricep extensions, but realistically, yeah, you can. And I think the problem we have is that too many people want to focus on too much assistance work or just overuse of the bench. Just trying to do so much benching. And what do you see? They eventually break. Sure, it works. Do you know why it works? Because bench press is a big hypertrophy exercise. You'll get bigger. You'll absolutely get bigger if you do volume benching, especially if you're eating. Okay? Especially if you're eating. But you run into overuse problems. These are the people who get hurt. These are the people who then talk about, oh, my shoulders won't let me bench. My rotator cuffs won't let me bench. Yeah, because it's overuse. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the bench press. It's because they took the same movement and overused it. When the reality is, had they just done more hypertrophy work, they would have got bigger, because all these muscles matter. Okay? And even if we talk about technique, how much of technique is related to muscle mass? All your stabilizers, okay? Your upper back, your lats, all this stuff control the bar path. So if you get those bigger, what happens? You end up with a cleaner technique. You end up with a better eccentric bar path, better control, better tightness coming out of the bottom. So even in that case, your technique can be improved by building those muscles. We start looking at the primary movers. All right, pectorals, front delts, triceps. That's what moves the weight. Well, if you get those as big as possible, again, our ability to produce force goes up. And as far as neural drive and stuff goes, that can be achieved with max work and speed work. Okay? So you guys have seen me do all that stuff. Look at the things you've seen me do just through this video. You've seen me do some max effort work. You've seen me on bench press, floor press. You've seen me do rep work on both, right? Good base builders. You know, some sets of 10 on the flat bench, some sets of 10 on the floor press, great. It'll hypertrophy all through all those primary movers. But you also see me doing the speed bench. All right, we're changing that up. Especially with that speed bench where we run 3 different grips. We have a different strength curve. All right, we're reducing our overuse dramatically doing that. Improves neural drive, still improves hypertrophy. But then also in here, there's some incline work for a little more upper chest, front delt, all the other same muscles, but a very different angle. And because we're working a different angle, more potential for hypertrophy. Again, doing some dumbbell shoulder work. Why? Because your entire deltoid and upper back, they matter. Lots of tricep work. Why? Because it turns out when we look at it, triceps actually have a much higher volume threshold. They can handle and recover from more volume than things like your pecs can. And if they can recover from it and handle it better, it's useful for overall growth. Plus, there's some parts of the tricep don't get worked completely during pressing. Well, they can with press downs, extensions, jam presses, whatever, right? We can completely develop the tricep. You know, the same thing we do some of the incline, it builds a little more upper chest. Well, if all these muscles are primary movers and we just get them thicker, what's going to happen? Our bench is going to go up. And look at the guys, even all the gym bros. Gym bros focus on the show muscles. They focus on the upper body. A lot of them have pretty big bench presses. Hey, there's a lot of gym bros out there with 405 plus benches because they're just big, thick guys up top. All right? They're just big, thick guys. And it matters. And again, when I'm talking about the bench here with all this, we're talking about a true bench with a pause. We're not talking about bro benching either. You know, what you see me doing here, this is what we mean by bench press. Pause, butt stays on the bench, drive it up. Okay. Muscle mass, it's the #1 predictor. Getting in and doing hypertrophy work. Your bench will go up even if your technique needs a lot of work. If you just keep building the entire upper body, because I broke down all those muscles matter. Even the biceps matter for stabilization. They matter for squish at the bottom. Okay. So just get bigger. Get bigger if you want a big bench. These people who are small and at light body weights are extreme outliers when they have a big bench. They're the extremely rare exception to the rule. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.